Buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Talisa Tarsia, in-house realtor at iMexico Real Estate. Welcome to another episode of the iMexico podcast. Today, we have a very special guest all the way from Canada, an accomplished entrepreneur, philanthropist, successful book author, tech innovator, and also investors. Please welcome Colleen Dillon.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the sunny Riviera Maya.
Oh, I'm so glad we're here in March, because where I come from, it's probably about -5 with lots of snow.
Finally taking a break from the cold of Canada.
Yeah. This is beautiful. Blue skies, blue water.
So nice. So Colleen, whenever we have a guest with such a wide and broad range of expertise, I always wondered, what inspired you in the first place to sort of pursue all these different fields, and what drives you to the different industries, and what is the one that represents you more?
You know, it's a challenging question in the sense that, you know, I've been given the privilege, I would say, to have been involved in many things, and I always break it down because of my background to human-centered design or design thinking. Mm-hmm. And so if we unpack that, you know, my background, similar to yours, is a creative background where we visualize things and we help to make those things become real. My journey led me into the medical sector, and then accidentally in the automotive sector. I never wanted to be a car designer of any type. But then I ended up spending 19 years in the automotive industry. But at the same time, you know, I use the kind of design thinking process where you have to have empathy with a problem. Mm-hmm. And then you have to know that the end goal is production, to produce a solution. And so I found in my last 30 years, I've just done that. And I think it's transferable skill set. Mm-hmm. And so whether I'm working in automotive, whether I'm working with government, whether I'm working with an academic institution, whether I'm writing a book, I just use the same process. So to me, I no longer have that T-shirt that says I'm a designer.
Specific one.
Yeah, I'm just somebody that uses human-centered design to solve problems.
That's fantastic. I think it's sort of what really is one of the characteristics of being a visionary, that makes you sort of translate dreams into reality and possibilities.
Yeah, and you can do that by, you know, setting goals. Some projects that I've had the honor of leading. So a few years ago, Canada had $0 invested into its electric vehicle mm-hmm. market or segment. And so we came up with the idea to build Canada's first electric car.
So interesting.
And we did this whilst I was working at a trade association. So I wasn't necessarily working at an engineering firm that had the potential, but we believed in ourselves. We built a world-class team, and within 3 years, we delivered the project on time, under budget. And even my friend who was my senior mentor on the project, he was the president of Toyota Canada. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, I honestly thought you were going to fail on time, fail on budget, because Lexus takes 3 years to build a prototype. And so we call those types of projects a moonshot, mm-hmm. you know, because you can try and hit the moon. The chance of you succeeding is minimal. But I disagree with that. For me, if you use that human-centered design thinking approach where you have plans and contingency plans, and you have a strategy, and you're nimble and you're able to pivot on a strategy, because sometimes you say it absolutely has to be this. No, it doesn't, because things change, supply chain changes, investors change. And so I think because the team was developed with that nimble-footed approach, I think we were successful
on that. And what would you think is sort of inspires you through the creative process, both in the design part and sort of like the writing?
It's a conversation I have with my wife Cindy probably too often, and I think it's, I grew up thinking I could do a lot, but I also felt like I was labeled because I went into the arts. I didn't go into the sciences, and I didn't go into, medicine. I was a bit of a failure compared to some of my peers. And so I think for the last 30 years, I've been trying to prove to, if nobody else, myself, that I can be successful. And so I think that has been an internal driver for me to succeed.
Almost a personal challenge.
Have I succeeded? Have I succeeded? And I don't stop. I could quite easily have said I built Canada's first electric car, which, by the way, when we started the project, there was $0 invested into the sector. When we finished, it was at $32 billion, and to date, it's at $50 billion.
Wow,
that has now come in, and we've had the federal minister of investment and the provincial minister of investment in Ontario both say that particular project was absolutely key to attracting maybe 10, 15, 20 billion of that money. And so at that point I could say, I'm done. But now I want to build a humanoid robot. Now I want to do projects here so it never stops, because I think there's a need for that human-centered design. That people need it. And I think I can easily find solutions that help companies and individuals come together.
Also that creative expression that always...
Yeah, it doesn't end. For me, it's, we see things differently.
In terms of the tech part, being such a competitive business and being you such an innovator in terms of technology, how do you see it related to real estate, and how do you see it impact the real estate field in the next 5 to 10 years?
It's a great question. So one of the biggest trends that's happening, and let's say globally, is smart cities. So China has embraced smart cities and is probably the global leader when it comes to smart city projects. And so what is a smart city, someone may ask? It's the connectivity of the infrastructure, of the buildings, of the vehicles, and the individuals that then live and breathe within that city. Japan, specifically Toyota, has announced it 5 years ago, but they've now last year invested $12 billion into that, what they're calling the woven city. So Japan and Toyota's vision is under their famous mountain. They're creating not only a smart city, but possibly the most sustainable city in the world. And you're going to see autonomous vehicles. You're going to see electric vehicles. You're going to see connectivity where you may not have to have a key for your apartment. Your apartment will have facial recognition. Your access to friends and family will be given where they can arrive and enter without a key or a fob, where there is security all the time, where AI is learning, this is Tally, and this is Tally's friend, and this is Tally's family, and so they have access once, they just know they're coming back. But I think the key thing also is, and it's something you and I were talking about earlier as well, which was sustainability. So I think the technology supports the real estate tomorrow and today's real estate sector by embracing technology, whether it be AI, whether it be extended reality, using virtual reality or augmented reality to sell, but also the attraction. So what differentiates us sitting in this beautiful property from maybe the next one? Maybe the one next door to us suddenly says ours is going to be fully teched out. And so is that a selling feature? And so those are some of the things we should be thinking about in real estate today.
Absolutely. And I think we should see as something positive. For some reason nowadays we have sometimes a little bit of kind of like a bad connotation of in AI and the fact that it might impact us in a bad and dangerous almost way. And not necessarily it has to be like that, like especially in regards to real estate and housing, I would say it might help us in the future. Also in regards to the sustainability factor that you mentioned. So,
last night I just did a keynote for an event in Toronto before flying out today. And it was around technology, and it was specific to AI. So my next book is called Soulful AI. And so AI today is IQ. IQ is that, you know how we all had friends or colleagues at school that were absolutely academically brilliant. But when it came to that social time in the playground or outside of school, they didn't know how to interact.
Wow.
And so what we say today in society is that is, brilliant IQ, but they're lacking in emotional intelligence and social intelligence. And so I'm arguing in my new book that AI has to have EQ and SQ and AQ.
So important.
And so that should then help to lessen the fear of AI. AI is coming, and people need to understand that AI is going to be the first innovation, the first time humans are going to create something which is greater than they are, which is better than they are. We created electricity to empower us. We created steam power to empower us. We created computers to empower us. But AI will be smarter than us. AI will be probably more spiritual than us, if you can think of it that way. And so AI is going to be a game changer. And I think it's key for the real estate sector, the construction sector, and the infrastructure sector to embrace AI. As a tool today, as a large language model, like I think we all use ChatGPT, to, be a creative partner.
Yes.
But tomorrow, I'm already developing my own AI agents, which should be able to work with all of my 4 or 5 different email addresses, work with my calendars, and simply respond on my behalf because I've created a persona to everything I need to do, and I can simply just do a quick review and make sure things are okay. And so really that could be maybe 2 employees that I've replaced for, let's just say, $5,000 a year. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
And so part of what we need to be thinking about in real estate is how it is going to affect individuals, how AI is going to be in the next 5 to 10 years doing the sales for you, how it is going to improve the sales for you. Because what AI will do is your AI as the selling agent will connect with my AI as the purchaser, and your AI will understand everything about me because I have this digital personality, and it will know in seconds exactly what I need. Exactly what I need. And so suddenly the time frame of the sale suddenly becomes shorter. The accelerant of the relationship, if we bring blockchain into this now that we can have a blockchain contract, which is absolute, the paperwork from me to yourself to a lawyer to it is transparent. There is no chance of anything being wrong.
Misunderstood, yeah.
So those are the positives. The negatives, and there are concerns globally that AI could also be used as a weapon. So there are concerns, but I'm a glass half full person. So I'm hoping that we're going to see a utopia of society with AI.
I'm the same. I really want to see an integration in between the two worlds, the natural world and the more spiritual world, almost, as you said, and AI. And in terms of design, you're also an industrial designer, and we are here in Alba today, one of our best projects in Puerto Cancun, and you were noticing all the little details. How do you think a design of a project establish its value compared to other projects? Like, how important do you think it is, both in short and long term?
Folks that are watching us can't see that I'm actually looking over your shoulder to this beautiful spiral gold, kind of antique gold staircase that goes to the next level. That shape and that form alone for me says a lot about how design inspires us. Because that could have quite easily have been, horizontal stairs that just go up. But the fact that the architectural team has used these little aspects of design to differentiate them from maybe the others that are being built next to them. The finish on the top of the penthouse suites, that kind of gazebo kind of like, feeling. And it's not just the fact that there is structure, but it's the way the light and the shade play on the shadows, of the strats. And so
almost the experience that gives you that.
Yeah, and then it's also the color palettes being used, and not only down to the paints, but as we walk through this particular property, that beige marble, which he had told me hadn't been brought in from Italy, that's warming. Mm-hmm. And then I think the way it works with the reflection of the blue and the green of the water and the sun, there's a strategy behind it, and I think that's important, as opposed to just whitewash everything.
Correct.
Gray white marble. Mm-hmm. And so design. You don't have to be an industrial designer or an architect to appreciate good design. Mm-hmm. You have to probably be a creative person with human-centered empathy, because if Tally's designing this, she should have empathy with who will be the owners of these 30 units. And so it's your empathy that then connects to creativity, which equals a successful build.
Correct. And also how the design really impacts the whole experience, the lifestyle, as you were mentioning, of those that are going to be living here. So different to have warmer tones compared to gray and colder tones, and definitely different type of experience of the living space. So today we are in the beautiful sunny Cancun, and over the next few days we're going to be seeing some amazing projects here in Riviera Maya. Do you want to just tell us a little bit how you got to know Riviera Maya and what brought you here?
Well, look, we're fortunate to be here for a few days. We're escaping minus temperatures and piles of snow in Toronto, Canada. We're going to spend the next few days experiencing the Riviera Maya, starting from Cancun all the way down to Mahawa. Mm-hmm. The objective is quite simple. There is a huge opportunity for investment in this area. Whether you're looking at wanting to invest multi-millions in a penthouse, as we're sitting in today, or whether your budget is a bit more conservative and you're looking at, let's say, $300,000 Canadian. Mm-hmm. Part of what we're planning to do over the next few days is to build a stronger relationship with the iMexico team. And so ask a lot of questions, get a lot of questions answered, and then be able to take, say, my brand back. And what is my brand? My brand is my word. My brand is the honesty and the integrity that I am known for. If I say I'm going to do something, I tend to do it. If I'm going to be a part of something, I'm fully committed, or I don't bother committing.
Fantastic.
And so it's that type of approach. And let's be frank. If I'm going to invest $500,000 and I can make a return of 30 to 50% on that within a short period of time, I can't do that in Canada at the moment. Mm-hmm. Real estate returns are under 2 digits at the moment in the Greater Toronto area. We did hit 15% a few years ago, but the numbers have begun to shrink a little while. The US, Texas and Florida are in turmoil. There are tens of thousands of properties that are not moving around the southern Florida area today. Obviously, there's been a change of power in the US. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are rethinking. Mr. Trump is now going after folks with tariffs, countries like Canada. And so we're also thinking about buy Canadian or partner with our allies in Mexico versus spending our dollars in the US. So there's a lot of things occurring, but I think, part of the hope is to solidify what we think is a huge potential here, and then to simply share it, not to sell it, to simply share it.
Fantastic, thank you. I was exactly going to ask you, what do you see are the benefits of investing in Riviera Maya compared to the experience right now of investing in the US or Canada? We already mentioned price-wise, I mean, the fact that definitely the properties here are more accessible, and there's a huge variety also of the properties that we have to offer. But what do you think are the benefits that we might consider?
The price point that you can allow somebody to be able to purchase a property, whether they're purchasing it to use for themselves or whether it's simply an investment opportunity. You cannot enter the US market in areas that provide, we're looking over, a dock and a bay area here. You can't enter that type of market for the kind of money you can here. But I think more importantly, it's the return on your investment and how soon you can do it. So, for example, I can buy a place in Orlando near the Disney parks, and prices have been coming down post-COVID. But if I was to buy a property there, let's just say for 500,000 US, and 10 years later, let's not even say 2 years, let's just say 10 years later, that property may be worth 600 US. So the return on your investment is a fraction.
Way different.
Yeah.
And also tax-wise.
Absolutely, tax issues. From our conversations earlier, this particular penthouse may have been at about 1.4, 1.5 when the project was announced, and today it's north of 2 million. And that's in less than 2.5 years.
The appreciation we had.
And so I think that's super attractive. It is, I think the Riviera Maya airports have over 50 million people coming through its terminals annually. A lot of Canadians come here. A lot of Canadians feel safe coming to Mexico. The region has done some excellent work around, dispelling the kind of words or the gossip that we hear about safety. And so I think tonight we're going to a beautiful restaurant, which is owned by people, friends we know from back in Canada. And they predominantly spend 60% of their time here versus in Canada now. And so there is a trend that we are seeing of Canadians wanting to spend more time here, Canadians wanting to retire here.
Wanting to move, even younger families.
And I think it's part of the reasons why the region has started to invest heavily in its infrastructure, into the rail, the Tulum airport, I think, which was launched in 2023.
Correct.
And so, flights are now beginning to come there. And so, I think, honestly, I think it benefits us with the nonsense going on in the United States that I think Canada and Mexico are actually going to build stronger relationships.
For sure. And you as an investor, what do you generally lean towards in terms of your investments? More of a commercial investment, more of a residential, or potentially more of a vacation rental type of condo?
I think personally it would probably be towards the residential with the opportunity to maybe rent it out, to be able to generate revenue from the property.
Especially with the occupancy that we have here.
Absolutely. Myself and my wife, we tend to travel. We've always struggled with this vision that we will retire and buy a place in X. Because for us, we would like to have investment properties, but if we wanted to spend 3 months in Thailand, we would spend it. And then the following year, if we wanted to spend 3 months in South Africa, we would spend it. In the next 3 months, we want to spend 3 months in Italy. And so for us, that is the way we see things going. But when you're talking returns of 25 to 50% on your investment, that's
very interesting.
That's very, that's I think a lot of people, yesterday, part of my presentation was about how we have to break this 40-hour one-job model. We have to diversify our income streams. And so I actually had a slide which had, hey, I said tomorrow morning I'm heading to Mexico, and the iMexico team are going to be showing me some potential investment properties. And when I said on the stage 30 to 50%, I saw a number of eyebrows being raised. And so I think that is very attractive.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we have the luck of having 365 days a year of sunny weather, beautiful climate, and definitely attracts a lot of tourists from all over the world. And as you mentioned, the connectivity, like we have 2 international airports getting flights from all over North America, Europe, South America. So that really helps getting to this big number of tourists that visit us every year. And the occupancy rate that just in Playa del Carmen last year ranged around 95% occupancy.
Wow.
So we are talking about not even having a low season anymore, it's high season constantly.
Yeah. It's funny, when we were just checking into the hotel, a English-speaking family were walking past us, and I overheard them say that none of the restaurants had reservations available within that block, today. So that says a lot about how, it has, Cancun especially is this kind of hub for folks to want to come and, enjoy this beautiful weather.
Correct. Colleen, through your achievements and also your book, The Three Houses, you inspire many people. How would you guide those investors that want to become successful investors themselves?
So my first book was called The Three Houses, A Journey to a Better Life. It's really about the inner journey. The reason the book was written was to help inspire people that, somebody like myself, whose parents came from India, but I was born in the UK, born in a very small town with 17, 18% unemployment growing up, nobody wanting to go to college or university, everybody dropping out, and me dreaming of one day moving to Canada, me dreaming of the North America or the Americas. But as I started my life and my journey, I understood the importance of going within and spending time within yourself to understand who you are. Because if I need to understand others, first of all, I need to know who I am. And I didn't know who I was. I think I had a lot of masks that I had to remove. I was somebody for my parents, I was somebody for my friends, I was somebody for my family. And so until you remove those masks and get to the real you, so the book, again, was trying to tell a story of an average person. I'm just your average next door neighbor. But if I can inspire to have these types of journeys and want to spend that time of effort, then you can too. And so I think when it comes to investors and when it comes to others, I think it's not a sales pitch. It's just sheer honesty. Tally, yourself and Nick Kelly and Cindy and I have just met, but it feels like we've known each other for a long time. And I think that's because there's a spiritual connection, but there's probably a level of honesty and integrity as well.
Very important, right?
And I think that is key, because when somebody's about to pull out, let's say, $500,000 of their hard-worked money and take a risk, per se, to invest in a country that they don't necessarily live in, how do they go through that process, and who do they trust, and who do they work with? I see the work that I've done on my book, I see the work I've done on my own personal brand will potentially just allow us to not sell, but to support the investment. So I think we are supporting them with their investment, like an investment advisor would, as opposed to, hey, you need to come and see, you know, this beautiful building and the weather is amazing. Like look, at minimum, you're going to walk away from this in a few years' time and you're going to have made 20, 30, 40, 50 points. You can buy me dinner later.
Thank you. You've only been here for a few hours now. What's your first impact of Riviera Maya? Does it correspond to what you heard of?
It's so we've been before, but we've got literally airport, bus, resort, and then maybe go to Playa del Carmen for a day shopping. I didn't expect this. I could kind of say, if I glance over your shoulder and look to the left, I'm sitting maybe in Miami. It has that feeling. I see there was a lot of potential, and as you both have told us, buildings have gone up in the last 5 years that weren't there. I don't think a lot of people see this side of the Riviera Maya.
Riviera Maya.
I think there is this package deal, flight, resort, back on the flight. And I think we probably need to do a better job of bringing people out and showing them what we've seen in the last 4 or 5 hours. You know, this gated kind of community that we've entered. You know, it's lucrative. It's world class. Yeah.
Also the lifestyle that offers.
It's like I said, you can transplant what we're seeing here to Dubai.
Dubai, exactly that.
You can transplant it to Singapore. You can transplant it, we've said, to Miami. You can transplant it maybe to the Riviera in Europe, maybe. Just because those buildings are a bit older than what we see here. But I think more of this needs to be promoted.
Absolutely. And in the next couple of days, we're going to be seeing a lot of different opportunities, and the fact that Riviera Maya really offers such a variety in terms of destination and attraction and things that can be done. Just traveling from one city to the other, it feels like you're traveling almost overseas to a completely different country. And I think it's very exciting to have such a variety in terms of opportunities and things that can be done here in the area.
I think so. It's like we were chatting earlier about how Tulum has more of this sustainable
holistic
culture.
Kind of culture, yes.
Yeah. So I think that's quite unique. But again, we're both well-traveled, but we would never have known that. We would never have known that, you know, if you Google it or if you ChatGPT it, I don't know if that information comes out. So I think we probably just need to do a better job of this experience versus the resort experience.
Correct. I always say I think Riviera Maya needs a better PR because it has a lot to offer, and not many know about the opportunity that has to offer. If someone wants to know more about investing in Riviera Maya and getting to know about the opportunities that we have here, what will be the first step?
I think speaking to Michele and Tali, we had a few phone conversations, video calls. You shared 2 decks with me, which explained a lot. I had a number of questions. You were able to answer most. I think there is a group of individuals who have net worth where they are looking to make investments. Some are doing it on stocks and shares. Some have diversified their portfolios and they're looking at real estate. The question really is how we break into those groups of individuals to talk about how safe an investment it is to invest in the Riviera Maya
and
area.
Profitable also.
And that's the reason.
That's the reason.
You know, a mutual friend of ours said he had extracted his some of his stock options and made a purchase in Mahawa because he felt the return on his investment was going to be greater than the 9 to 15 points he was being told and expecting annually. And so if you can double that, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
That's correct. So Everyone, it's a wrap for today's podcast. Thank you very much to our very special guest for this super interesting conversation. For all of those that want to know more about Riviera Maya, please follow us on our social media at iMexico Real Estate on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, you name it. We are on platforms. Are you on any platforms if anyone wants to follow you?
LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter. LinkedIn is my main platform I use.
LinkedIn is your main platform. Fantastic. And follow us in the next couple of days. We're going to be discovering some fantastic properties in Riviera Maya. So thank you, Colleen. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Tali.
Until next time, everyone. Bye.